cool. So happy Monday, everyone. Sorry for those 2 minutes of technical difficulties. If you have AirPods, you know these things have a mind of their own. So, guys, we're 6 months through the year. And I'll share one of my favorite quotes a yoga instructor once told me. And she said, Shrag, looking back too much will only hurt your neck, right? But you do have to look back every so often. So today, I wanted our time to be focused on one, a bit of self-reflection, two, an understanding of where we are, and three, a clear path forward. So I want everyone to take out something to write with so they could start getting present to what they really need to understand to make the next 6 months the best of your life. Because what I find is that in talking with thousands of agents and having these conversations year after year, people aren't looking at their plan strategically enough, often enough, and understanding what they're looking at their business plan for, right? A plan is something to get you somewhere where you want to go, right? Could you imagine going and driving somewhere without clear directions on getting there? But when you get there, then what do, right? So if you look at my philosophy, I find real estate is just this 100-yard dash every year. Every year we start in the fourth quarter, we make our plan, we run, we get to our plan, we start over and we do it again. But what we found in doing our deep dive with our group is that if you've been in this business 5, 10, 15 plus years, there's certain skills and numbers that you should know what they mean and how they operate. But what I find is how is it that 10 years later, we still can't handle the same objection? Or 10 years later, 5 years later, we don't know the numbers, right? Because first, I believe in why, what, how. Why are these numbers important? What do you really need to track? And how does this show up in your business and life, right? So let's talk about why. Numbers tell a story, right? So write this first number down, listing appointments. The second one, listings taken. Number 3, price reductions. Number 4, listings sold. Number 5, expired listings. Let's go through those 5 numbers and let's talk about why, right? If you're going on appointments, but you're not getting the listings, what do you need to work on? Your listing presentation, right? Now, if you're getting the listing, right, but you need a lot of price reductions, what do you need to work on? The pricing part of this, correct? Now, if you're getting price reductions, you're getting the things versus them selling, you know, again, that's another area where you need to work on pricing property effectively, and also the communication with your clients, because people can get fired in real estate, correct? But there's an entire set of skills behind each one of these numbers. So does anyone here track any of those 5 things besides Ali Sherbach? Because I know you're probably going to say yes. Drop in the chat, yes, if you do. Therese, yes. Marina, yes. Oh no, these are old. Does anyone track any of these numbers? I track buyers' numbers. I work with them more. Merle, no. Julia just started. Both signed, we do. Well, I have a feeling that you have a great spreadsheet. That's my gut intuition. So, Will, unmute yourself for a second.
Hey, Chirag. I'm at the pool, so you might hear kids cheering in the background.
That's even better. That's true commitment. So what do you do with these numbers? Like, do you use them to help your teams build their skills, or is it just a way for you to track what you do?
One thing we do that I find interesting, and I think is a good nugget to share with others, is we have a website. Alex, you could post it in the chat. It's www.wecameupshort.com. And every time I go on a listing appointment and we don't get it, we'll pay the seller $50 to finish an interview, finish a survey, to let us know why we didn't get it. And that's been instrumental in us realizing where why someone would choose the competition over us. And it's almost always price They found a cheaper alternative, but we're a full service, full fee group. But that's been really helpful also, if that answers your question.
So look, guys, tracking these numbers is imperative, right? So it's not like we're going on 250 appointments a year, right? To listings. It becomes unmanageable. This is about just having simple discipline, but understanding that once you unlock these skills and you own them, you have them forever, right? It's like learning how to talk, right? Once you learn a language, and as long as you use the language, it works. It's like a bicycle. We can all still get back and ride a bicycle, right? Even for many of us who haven't ridden a bike in a long time. So again, those are the 5 numbers, right? Listing appointments, listing take-ins, price reductions, listing solds, expired listings. And I'm going to add a 6th thing is look at Will's website and see if you could start implementing this, right? So now here's the other thing I want to do in terms of numbers and looking back. How many people have worked with somebody in the last 6 months that has completely wasted their time and has sucked their energy away? Everybody, right? This is like being in an AA room and people saying, have you ever had one too many drinks in your life? And the answer is yes, right? So for all of us, thank you, Corey. For all of us, this is the other thing to focus on for the next 6 months. If, listen, let me walk everyone through this. I'm going to be very direct with you. Are you guys a professional service? Everyone raise their hand and say yes, correct? So when someone with a professional service, number 1, only gets paid on commission, number 2, has to invest their time, number 3, and their money, number 4, agrees to an egregious price that they know they can't get, whose fault is that? Yours. And do you know what you guys just signed up for? In a logic-driven world, why would anyone that works in those 5 different circumstances take a product to sell that they know they can't ever sell? Right? Because guess what? If I'm looking at Will as a professional, right? And look, I'll go through the extenuating acceptable circumstances because I know that's where all your guys' minds are going. Well, but if, think about this 90-10, we want to focus on the 90% we can control and the 10% exceptions, like you deal with those as they come. But real estate agents all build their business on that 10% of the if, right? Not the majority. So here's the thing. I take Allie's listing at $400,000 overpriced. Now I'm spending my time, money, and resources marketing it. Now Allie starts to believe that this price is even possible. Because why would any person that only works on commission ever spend time, money, and resources marketing something, right? I asked my dad when I got into real estate, like what advice can you give me, right? He goes, simple. He goes, think of every house that you're selling like inventory. I would never bring any inventory into my store I couldn't sell. And even if that is, I have to be ready to discount it, right? To be able to sell it, even if the initial price is high. And I need to understand the timing and everything else, right? So why go back to if? If you hear the words if with a seller, if I have the right price, run. Just run. Your job is not to be a non-for-profit foundation. It is not to be somebody's punching bag, right? But we're not armed with the right dialogue to share with these people. So write these words down. If you do not get your price, what is your plan B? That's one question. If you do not get your price, what is your plan B? Here's another one. If you're unable to sell your home for blank, what will no longer happen because you did not net that amount of money? And they're gonna be like, well, what do you mean? Like you have obviously that you're because a lot of people are hyper fixated on a number. They're hyper fixated because they've sat down, they've figured out their number, the market's hot, they've calculated the check in their pocket after closing, and they already spent it on something else. So they're like, well, if I don't get this number, I can't do it. And a lot of times it's tied to something that's a should for them, not a must, right? And it's our job to uncover this. It's not our job to be combative with them. Remember, You're a facilitator. You facilitate things, right? So before we wrap up this number section, I'm going to go through how to set the stage for this with every single seller so it's never ever your fault. Melissa knows this lesson very well. Don't be a punching bag and own the market. So when you look at your numbers for listings, I want you to look at those 5 numbers, right? The other thing is you need to look at your annual production. The other script, Colleen, again, is, if you are unable to get this number, what will no longer be able to happen for you as a result? So as you guys start looking back, look at your total production, right? How many, I like doing it closed and pending, right? Because it's like a running scale. Look at where you are closed and pending today versus where you wanted to be, right? And understand the fourth quarter is going to be a little lighter generally than the first 3 quarters of the year, especially with the way the market is, right? So we don't know what the fourth quarter could hold. At the rate we're going, it could be strong. But understand whatever goal that you wanted to set, you should ideally be 10 to 20% ahead of the number based on just forecasting, right? Assuming that things level out and everything else. And look, if you're not at the number that you wanted to be, and you're telling yourself that you're busy, busy does not mean you're productive, right? All you need to do if your numbers aren't where you want in clients, you need to start doubling down on the contacts you make a day, right? And for most of us, our sphere is the most undertapped resource. We spend all our time looking for new, when we should just be doubling down on our network. So here's some simple numbers, right? If you call 5 people a day, 5 days a week, 10 months out of the year at a 1% conversion rate, that's 10 deals. You want to double that to 20 deals, call 20 people a day, call 10 people a day. And that's only 10 months. It's assuming 2 months, right? 5 working days a week, 20 working days a month, 40 working days in the year, you don't call anybody. I'm talking about a 1% conversion rate. This is not about like hoping for the moon. This is about having discipline, consistency, and patience to do something really small very consistently. And we're talking about 1% conversion rate. Do you think that's a realistic number? 1, not 3, not 5, 1. Now think about how much money you'll spend on a postcard hoping for a 3% conversion rate. The other thing when you're looking at your numbers, people want to see people. You should be setting at least 1 to 2 coffee meetings a week, period, end of story. Especially for all my extroverted friends, right? If you like being in front of people and you can make somebody smile and laugh, and that's a gift of yours, you got to get yourself back out there. So those are the seller numbers. Now let's look at the buyer numbers, right? And then I'm going to go into what you can control, what I can control, and what no one can control, right? So let's look at our buyer numbers. How many buyer appointments are you going with a client? Where's Paul Coleman? Paul? Where did he go?
I'm here.
All right, cool. Paul, talk about the buyer numbers you track.
So I track buyer appointments, new buyer clients, buyers under contract, and buyers sold.
So I want you to track for every client going forward the amount of appointments you make, the amount of offers that you write. And this way you can start to figure out a ratio of appointments to offers to contract. And let's go back to if. Is the market very competitive?
Yes.
Yeah. If somebody wants to buy a house, like, again, let's go back to the same thing. Like gas prices have gone up considerably. I remember mine in my area were $2. Now they're $3 and change. When I was in San Diego and I looked at the gas at $4.50, I was mortified. Right? So like your time, money, and resources, again, are going towards this. Well, if I find the right house, well, again, go back to, well, if you're not able to find a house in this price range, what's your plan B? And then if you're not able to find a house by the stipulated time you shared, what will no longer happen or what do you need to happen? Get them to start talking about it, right? You need them to anchor into doing that. But if you don't know these numbers, you don't know where to work on, right? So if you're going on 100 appointments and you're not writing any offers, what do you need to work on?
Conversion.
The initial buyer consultation, setting the expectations of the market up front. Look, there's real data, right? Like you can look at properties that sold and historically see what the list price to sales price is, the days on market, and the actual value. Then you can go and look into contract and see if that number is trending up or trending down, right? So if you could see in an average, say someone's looking in a neighborhood, Paul, in Boston, right? And the average price, list price to sales price is 106%, right? You can ask someone, are you willing to pay, if you're looking at a $500,000 house, are you okay paying $30,000 to $40,000 above asking? These people have the right to know this information up front, right? The line that a lot of our clients use in their consultations is, hey, Paul, we believe that every buyer has the right to know, which empowers them, what it takes to win a home in this market. Would it be okay, puts them in control again, if we shared that with you so we made sure that we got you the home that you wanted? Most people say yes. Again, if waving red flags, if people do not want that information, is that a good client for you always?
Nope.
No. Unless they just have screw you money, right? And there's like, I don't care, I'll pay. It's not a big deal. If I was your client, I'd be one of those clients, right? I'd say, look, I have to move, right? When I have to move and I decide I want to move, I'm going to move. I am not sitting there negotiating prices. I find a house I want. I'm generally aggressive with the bid. I'll put a solid down payment. I know I can get a mortgage. So I'll waive a bunch of my contingencies. And that's really it, right? I'm a very simple, direct person. Just tell me what it is. Give me my expectations and I can work with you. But for a lot of these buyers, they don't have, that's why I wanted to look at that appointment number. You don't give them any of this information because you're afraid that they might not want to work with you and you guys all want more clients. Then when they get to the point of making an offer, then they feel pressured, right? Well, I didn't have any of this information. Now my realtor just wants me to overpay for a home. And again, the part that I wanted us to take away in reviewing our first half numbers is through every one of these numbers, there's a skill that you need to be working on every day. So over the course of the next 2 weeks, you guys will start getting in small groups emails and we'll have office hours to start onboarding people onto Mighty Networks. Mighty Networks is what we moved our entire platform to. It's an app and there are actually community boards in there. So for all of us that need to role play, script building, all that stuff, accountability partners, you can just post it on a message board and there'll be people there that you can connect with directly. So unfortunately, my Zoom dating is coming to an end, right? In the chat box, it's been my go-to for a while. We'll still use the chat box, but now we'll have an app. All of our content will be on an app. Everything will be through this app. So it'll be very easy. You could access it all on your phone. We're working on getting you audio versions of these recordings as well, so you can just listen to them when you're driving your car. So that's very exciting, and that will be coming up. But you guys need to practice having these conversations, right? It is a quantifiable skill that has lifetime value. Do you know how many agents I meet that make a ton of money that if they had to actually go in a competitive situation against someone that really knew how to talk to somebody or have effective conversations, they'd lose because they would not be able to effectively communicate what they offer, how is it that it shows up, what are the actual action steps to it. They're coasting on their name and their reputation. And with what I see the trends are in the market, the amount of information that people have for free, you need to make it clear, concise, and so the other person understands the value you have. And if you don't track your numbers, you don't know what skills to work on. Sound good? So when someone says, why should I work with you with someone else? You can say the other number is you want to track list price that for listings, go back, list price to sales price, average days on market. Those are two other numbers that you want to put there. And then for buyers, you want to put your average list price to sales price, right? And the number of sales you made also. So now these numbers tell a very telling picture, right? So you guys all should be reaching out to each other and figuring out, or will you have your team, make sure everyone pick a skill and own that skill over the course of a month based on what your business is. Practice it every day, right? Remember Malcolm Gladwell, the whole 10,000 hour concept things. So like for our clients in the New York City area, when we were locked down with COVID, they were practicing and role playing every single day. Well, your daughter's very cute. So it at the end of doing all this, their conversion rate, like Justin Martinez said, his conversion rate on listing pitches to cold calling developers is up 90%. But there's no objection you give him that he's not comfortable talking about because he's practiced it over and over and over again. And they still do it every day. So let's go through how to have these conversations with people about pricing, right? So who wants to know how to get a seller to agree to a price without ever having to argue with them? Okay, it's called framing, right? It's not what you say, it's the frame you set in doing this. So I would say, let's see, who's going to be my contestant? Jessica. I'd say, Jessica, before we go through and discuss what's going on in the market, there's something I'd like to go over with you so that we're both in alignment. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Great. So there's certain things in this process that you're going to be able to control, right? You can control the price that you put your house on the market. Is that correct?
Yes.
The condition of your property, the accessibility, and the terms that you offer the home to other people at. Is there anything else that you can control in this process?
My perception of things, perhaps.
Exactly. Great. What I can control marketing, advertising, the visual story we tell of your home, negotiating, and having a great communication plan that keeps you informed throughout the process. As your agent, is there anything else I can control?
No.
No, and there are things that none of us can control. Can anyone control the stock market? Can anyone control interest rates? Can anyone control current events and potentially what's going on in your neighborhood? And lastly, can either one of us, notice how I said this, can either one of us control the choices your neighbors make for the prices they're willing to accept for their homes?
No.
Great. So, as I ask you to step and put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, really, really, Jessica, to maximize the equity in your home, it's us partnering together what you can control and I can control against what no one can control. Does that make sense to you?
I'm on board.
Do you see what we just did? Protagonist, antagonist, us versus them. So now when you go through pricing and they're like, oh my God, and they're like, that house, it's crazy and everything else, you're like, yeah, isn't it terrible the choices that these other people make and how it will affect us, right? Now it's us. It's not them, it's us. So that's the way to do it, right? And I want you guys to take the same exact aspect for buyers as well, right? What you can control, right? As the buyer, you can control the price that you pay, the terms that are offered, the closing things and everything. What the agent can control, right, is accessibility, off-market deals, negotiating and staying on top. What no one can control is the local market, current events, interest rates, and the prices other buyers are paying for homes, right? Do you see how this all works? It is very, very simple. Does that sound good to you guys? This is the story the numbers tell. In the last few minutes I have all of you guys, I put the link in the chat, have all of you guys signed up to come to our event? Jessica has? No. I put the link in, sign up. There'll be special networking stuff that we're doing for our clients when we come. We do have an early bird thing. You'll start seeing this week a lot more mass comms going out. So I put the link in, click the link now, sign up. And once our message board goes up, I want to make sure that if anyone here, who's been to a Compass retreat? 1, 2, it's me and you, Melissa. A lot what makes people successful at Compass retreats is the networking groups that they set up. So people often host happy hours and dinners and lunches. And look, we're going to be in Brooklyn and the tri-state areas, like my backyard. I worked out of New York corporate. So if you guys want to get there and meet in Brooklyn offices, local offices, I could set that up with the sales managers. But if I were you guys and doing this, we want to give our clients first opportunity to start setting up networking things, because I already have other people that signed up reaching out to me to say, hey, can I set up a networking event, right? So far we have people confirmed from 10 states, and we cannot, due to the CDR restrictions, we can't sell limitless tickets. So I put the link in the chat. I hope you guys can come. We're looking forward to meeting everyone. And there's nothing like in-person energy, right? Like there's just something about human connection and people being in the room, I think is really unique. And as somebody said, I show up a lot better in person than I do on the Zoom screen. We had a nice fun thing in Miami that we did with a small group of people, maybe like a month and a half ago. And now we're opening this up to a large group of people. So I put the link in, and I'm going to keep doing this every day because I truly believe that's in all of your best interest to travel. The first day is a fully packed day. If you guys haven't met Matt Spangler, Matt's the one that created the Compass brand, and I'm working with him to create a customized workshop just for us. He wants 60 to 75 minutes, and he's agreed to make content that he's never shared with anyone before. It'll be the first time we see it. So the first day is a jam-packed full day filled with nuggets you could take into your business. And the second day, we're going to be breaking up into whether it's a breakfast or a lunch and going to Compass HQ, right? So if you have not been to Compass headquarters, you have not been to New York City, it's something that is an energy of its own. And I know a lot of the leadership team will be there. So I hope you guys sign up. So if you guys have any questions, will we have handouts on nuggets? Yes, everyone will have a full workbook. So that's a good point, Renee. We're actually customizing the workbooks, because the workbook that Will should get as a team leader, the workbook that Jessica should get as a principal agent, and then a workbook of, let's say, Melissa, who's on Will's team as a team member, should be a different workbook, right? And someone's going to ask me, how are you going to make 3 different workbooks for one event? And the answer is very simple, is that when we sit here and do this, questions prompt people to think ways differently, right? So if you're listening, I need to give you the right questions to prompt your mind to get you into a certain flow. So as long as you know what's being prompted, you know what to fill in the book. So I know based on everyone's track what it is, and in the end, we all do the same business, right? But the content has to be presented in a certain way and has to be facilitated in a certain way. I'm going to put this all out in our notes, Jessica. When we upload this, they'll put this in the note, the recap of everything else. Colleen, I'll give you the communication plan when we're on our call today. So you'll keep seeing emails about our event. Please make sure you sign up. And I look forward to meeting you guys all in person. And I hope everyone has a great day, and commit to practicing one skill based on your number, and do it for the rest of the month. Sound good? See you guys later. Bye, everybody.